Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Do this.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Francisco. Hi, everybody.
Ariel, Jasmine,
Hello.
Jose Alberto.
Let's see if we can put in your name, like if you can rename yourself to if you are a previous scholar, if you are an applicant, if you're a faculty scholar. I will put that I am the education and research chair, co-chair, just so we know. Okay. Oh, great. We have an applicant. We have a previous scholar. You know, Jose Alberto is a previous scholar. Dr. Bianco is one of our faculty scholars. And we have two applicants here. I hope this is helpful for you. Okay. And Jose Alberto used to run this info session many years ago.
As many times as I did it, never figured out Zoom.
What?
Something goes wrong every time.
Oh, that was when we were doing breakout rooms and like trying to go a little crazy.
Oh my God, the whole symposium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't miss those days. All right. I will give like a couple minutes just for more people to join. Jasmine, were you okay with the agenda that I sent, or did you have another agenda that you wanted to follow?
No, your agenda was great, so we could go ahead and follow that one.
Cool. So I'll write it in the chat too, just what we'll be discussing. Today, we're just going to we'll briefly go over the application and just touch on, you know, what's absolutely required, just in case you accidentally missed something. And then we are just going to have some of our reviewers. So Francisco, Monica, as one of the reviewers, some of our reviewers to describe like what they look for in an applicant. What are some things that make somebody an application stand out? And then I'll give the floor to our previous scholars, so those who participated in, to share how they feel that you could be successful in the program. And then we'll, by 5:30, be going over any questions that were already submitted, and then opening it up for questions. And so if you want to wait to share your question after that, or if you want to put it in the chat, you can do either one now. Our goal is that everyone's questions get answered, even if it's not live in this session today. So, and then anyone who's just recently joined, I'm just asking if you could put in your name if you're an applicant or a previous scholar, just so we know who's all here.
Ariel,
Yes,
when we start proper, can we record this?
I think it is
It's recording already.
recording.
Oh, it's recording? Okay, great. So then we can distribute to, you know, if you are in an LMSA, send this out.
Yes, I know some people were studying for finals, so we couldn't find like a perfect day to do this,
Yeah.
but thank you all for joining. I hope if you are studying, this is a nice little break. So I'm going to start.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Did somebody have a question? No. Okay. All right. It's at 5:05. Like I said, the main important thing is that everyone here's questions get answered. But I will start with reviewing our application page. So if you have not looked at this, I strongly recommend that you take some time. Give me 1 second here.
I want something.
Oh, Sorry.
Dinner. That wasn't a lot.
And then if you've just joined and can go and make sure to mute yourself, that would be great. Unless you have a question. This is an open discussion, so anyone is welcome to interrupt and ask questions too. But like I said, we will have the time at 5:30 and until 6 for all questions. So here's our application page. And like I said, if you have not given some time to go through this, please go through it to get like a nice understanding of our program, our history and advancements. The purpose of our program is to support support students who are, support early researchers who are students who are currently involved in an academic program to complete or initiate a research project and to learn all of the ins and outs of conducting research. We have all of our scholars in previous cohorts and our current cohort that just recently ended in October listed in these select pages. We have a nice little video from Jonathan as well. So the main components of our scholars program is an opening celebration in May or June or spring, really. We have one-on-one scholar research mentor pairing. We help with project idea development and then progression of your research project with supervision from a paired scholar mentor plus our faculty scholars. So our faculty scholars have been Dr. Bianco, and then our new faculty scholar who just started this cohort is Dr. Bonilla, Marco Bonilla. And then we have weekly check-ins as well as like a structured program to complete certain tasks to make sure that you're on track to complete a project over the summer. So we start in around May with the final deadline being the poster presentation at our annual Latino health conference. Used to be called our symposium, but we are now a national conference. The financial award is anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 per calendar year, split up into 2 payments. So you get it at the initial before starting and then at the end. And these payments are also only given to those who complete the pre and post survey. So we're constantly measuring our program success. All right, the main things, eligibility criteria. All of our applicants must identify as Hispanic and Latinx. They must demonstrate the interest in pursuing a health career, and that can be any health career. So nursing, any master's level program, PA school, OT school. We have reviewed different applicants from different fields of healthcare, as well as like administration and other fields. And it can be anywhere from undergrad to graduate school, including medical school, of course. Demonstrating financial need at this juncture, there is a section in the application to either write a statement of financial need, or you can include your FAFSA form. Everyone is required to submit something. Now we don't base everything off of whoever has the highest need gets selected, but there is a required element, whether that's a statement or a document that demonstrates financial need. Any questions on the requirements? And one of the things that I do want to note, and we've had one of the questions about it, is that you do have to be in current academic standing at the time of application. That's what I'll say there.
I have a question regarding just the eligibility criteria for those. Well, I don't receive financial aid because I'm a DACA recipient. I don't have a FAFSA. So what can I submit instead of that?
Just a statement of that you are a DACA recipient. We have people just write like a couple sentences of the statement of financial needs. So that exact thing that you just said would be what I would include in your application. And it
Okay,
is more than
and
sufficient.
and that's written by me.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. And then the requirements, so everything is in our Google form. It's one complete Google form that you do need to complete in one sitting. So it is helpful to go through that form. There are 4 essay questions. I would strongly advise write those questions in a Word doc, proofread, make sure that your responses are well written, are within the word limits, and have been edited and proofread, because we can and will, throughout an application that just didn't seem like there was enough effort given into the writing. The application will ask for demographic, current educational information, and then these essay questions. We ask for the commitment to complete a minimum of 5 hours over a week over a 6-month period. Oh, this has to be updated to 2025. And then this supporting documentation as well, which needs to be submitted directly to the program's email. Or you can, or you can add it into the Google form. So that includes 2 letters of recommendation on an institutional letterhead and signed by the writer, a letter of good standing from your current educational institution. So that's the proof that you are enrolled in an institution. Your most recent academic transcript, if available. Some people just started a program and don't have their most recent transcript. If that's the case, then obviously you cannot submit it. But if you have one from previous institution, then that's considered your most recent academic transcript. So we understand that by the deadline, you may not have one from this semester.
And Ariel,
Yes.
there's a question in the chat.
Okay.
For the FAFSA, do they turn in a 23-24 or a 24-25 FAFSA?
I believe based on the timeline, if they have 24-25, because I think they're starting to open those now in October, then they should send that. But if you I would just send your most recent one, and we can recognize that if you send 23-24, that's your most recent one. And I don't think a lot of people's financial situations change a whole lot in 1 year from while being in school. And then the document, an updated CV, edit your CV, please. This will be my spiel on what makes a good applicant. We receive so many applications. So when we notice something like someone didn't update their CV, it says they're in medical school, or they say they're in medical school, but that's not on their CV. That's, to us, like kind of an easy way to maybe not think so highly of a candidate. So update your CV, and then your financial need documentation. A written statement explaining financial need can complement this. I believe that like official documentation, especially in situations where you don't have a FAFSA form, is okay. I am going to, and then the deadline is Monday, December 23rd. All right. So those are the elements. Again, make sure that everything is submitted for a complete application. And by the deadline as well. Let me see if there was any questions. Okay, and I answered that question. So that's on the application submission. Given that, I explained some of the things while I was talking as to what may make what can make it easy for us to not think highly of an application. So an unedited essay questions, an outdated CV. Those are simple things that I hope everyone is considering when they're submitting their application. But I did want to open it up to our previous reviewers, Francisco and Monica, to see if you had anything else that you want to share about a successful applicant.
I am Monica Bianco. I'm a pediatric endocrinologist, and I was a previous faculty scholar, and now am advising the future faculty scholars in terms of the program. So really doing a lot of the managing in the background, but have also been a mentor to a MOLA scholar. So, and in the process of reading applications, I agree with Ariel's, comments. I mean, if it looks like you didn't spend time on it, then that's going to be an easy way for us to be like, this is not someone who is serious about this. And we do get a lot of applications. So, that's going to be an easy way to kind of get rid of one. So if you are really interested in it, definitely dedicate a little bit of time, make sure that you've proofread it. I mean, honestly, that's really, really, really important. And then from my standpoint, I really like it when, and this is not a requirement, but if you have an idea of an area that you're interested in, or a topic that you would like to research, that is really helpful in many ways for us, because then we can kind of see where your interests lie and what and how you will kind of carry this through the project. So that's really important. So if you have an idea already about what you would like to do a research on, even if maybe you haven't, it's not well developed, writing about that would be really helpful and important for us. And Francisco, you can go ahead and
Yeah,
add.
so I want to supplement that because all of that is true, right? So the other thing that I will say is that if you have the idea that you have has to be well thought out, because just like when you have errors in your spelling or in your resume, it smells like you didn't try. Well, if you say something like a fluffy, generic stuff, it also tells us you didn't put an effort. So for example, if you put, oh, my interest is to bridge disparities in healthcare. Yeah, everybody's is, right? I mean, that's what we're here. So you didn't tell us anything about you that we don't know just because you apply to the scholarship. So be more specific, be more, you don't have to have a specific project. If you do, great. But be clear and be detailed in what is it that you want. Also, sometimes, and this is very personal, but if I see applications that go like, oh, I want to, dedicate myself to like Monica, to pediatric endocrinology, but I'm also interested in breast cancer and erectile dysfunction. Sure, I mean, narrow it down. Give me something, right? Because otherwise it sounds like you're just throwing spaghetti, see what sticks. And that doesn't fall well. We're not going to try to understand your mind. You got to tell us exactly what is it that you want. And if you don't know, is okay. But at least have a detailed area. Like, for example, I don't know, I want to bridge disparities in cancer from, I don't know, educational campaigns point of view with low literacy women. That is far more specific than I want to bridge disparities, right? So be detailed in the areas that you like, and in your essays in general. Like, tell us something about you that we wouldn't know otherwise.
And I have just two more things to add. One, please bring it back to Latino health in the United States. It's very, very important that it kind of all ties back into that. So like maybe you are someone who's already doing research and it is very broad. And then so you kind of, for this application, you want it to be applicable to Latino health and advancing Latino health in the United States. So please do that. And then if for some reason you are someone who already has mentorship at your school, definitely highlight that in your application because it is important for us to kind of know where you stand in terms of your research trajectory.
Yeah, and one last thing is that all of this gets you in the maybe pile, right? And then from there, there's a lot of things that we consider. So for example, Ariel mentioned financial need. I want to mention sometimes we want coverage, right? So if all, you know, if the best applications are all coming from one place, well, there's a likelihood that we're not going to select just the best essays, the best focused research, because we want to cover more people, right? We want to give this to a broad number of people. So just to keep that in mind, there are many criteria that we use. What we've outlined in terms of like writing a good essay, having or interest and having your resume and your things up to date is what gets you on the maybe pile, right? And I think that we should be very transparent about that. And if we had the money, we would all like for all of you to receive it, but we don't. So we have to cut somewhere. And Monica, a question for you. For those applicants that are already doing research and have a person they're doing the research with, they have a mentor of sorts. Do they need does everybody need a MOLA mentor, or can they stick with their mentor?
So it varies. We actually reach out to your mentor sometimes and discuss if they are a Latino doctor or at an institution. Sometimes they will serve as your MOLA mentor. If it is someone who is does not have a Latino background, you will definitely be given a MOLA mentor to kind of help guide you through the actual process.
Perfect. I don't know if there are any other questions, comments, concerns, flashes of brilliance, anything.
I think I answered the one about any updated material, if once you've already submitted a complete application, can be accepted by the deadline, which is the 23rd. So just do Jasmine a favor and just like say this is updated version 2 submitted this day, just so she can keep track of everything. And then I know Marco, I don't know if you're available, but do you have any other insights as to what makes a successful applicant? And then we'll talk about what makes us a successful scholar from our previous scholars.
Hey, sorry, I'm driving home. I just want to echo what Monica and everyone else have been saying. Just read proof whatever you're submitting, and as Francisco said, we're looking at different things, not only just one a specific personal statement. Yeah.
Thank you. And then we have Sara and Jose Alberto. Do you want to share your experience as a scholar and give some tips to our applicants on what may make a successful scholar during the program?
You can go ahead, sir.
Sure. Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. So hi everyone, my name is Sarah. I was a MOLA scholar last year. I'm currently an M3 at UIC. And so I think for me, I had been like looking into the program for about a few years by the time I finally applied, but I ended up waiting until I felt like I really had the project I wanted to work on and felt like I knew kind of more like this is what I really want to get from a program. This is really what I want to be able to learn or be able to have applied some of the research skills I've already kind of shown in my M1, M2 year. And so I ended up waiting a little bit later on and applying as an M2, M3 because I wanted to have a better idea of what my research capacity really looked like as a med student and the skills I wanted to grow in and really make use of that time. And so for me, I thought that was helpful, that like when I was ready to interview and apply, that like I really had found what I thought was more connection for me in regards to research and where I felt like my career would go in the future as well. And so I felt like I was in a better place, in a better like position to apply for this type of program. But I know others who didn't have like that idea or that. And so it's not necessary. I just felt like for me, I knew that I was going to be a better applicant for myself and for Yeah, I go to the back. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm at the clinic. So I think for me that was helpful. And again, we've all done something to support the Latino community, or else I feel like we're usually not in MOLA, or you wouldn't be found, you wouldn't be in the space, I feel like. And so I think it's important to don't forget to emphasize all that work you've done in your life and until now in medical school that really shines through, that this is something you really care about, whether that's through like connections with LMSA and going to have gone to MOLA events before. I think it was helpful to go to MOLA events when I was applying around this time, like meeting other people in MOLA and like getting to introduce like network in that way and see what other scholars like had their experience as well. So yeah.
And my name's Jose. I'm third year, just finished rotation studying for STEP, so big step ahead. But I go to Feinberg. I'm originally from Puerto Rico. Moved when I was 12 to Dayton, Ohio. I was involved with MOLA since my like gap year, like 5 or so years ago. I was the intern. And that's how I kind of got to know MOLA and being able to stay in Chicago. It was honestly a gift because I was able to stay and kind of have a good opportunity to join this MOLA Scholars program. I just want to emphasize that opportunities like this program are not very frequent. And I like to echo what Dr. Iacobelli has mentioned and Sarah has mentioned. It's we're all here for a very similar core reason, which is to improve the health of our communities. But what I was kind of astounded by is just how many different ways that can look like in research. And the way that the selection committee selects people, it's a vast diversity of types of research, clinical, epidemiology, public health, basic science, things that I'm not personally, necessarily exposed to. But that key takeaway for me was like, that's one of the biggest things that I was able to appreciate, kind of week by week, checking in, seeing my fellow scholars tackle a big picture question, or might be like a specific question in a respective field of research, and then just getting better and improving. I myself was improving, but it was also cool to see everybody else improving in their respective field. Always wearing that, mission in their back of wanting to improve the lives of our community. So I think as a good scholar and applicant, it's just be true to yourself. You're all more than capable people. The research experience and everything, again, there's variability. Some people come in, they knew a lot about what they wanted to do and they knew how to do the research. Some people, are more fresh and they're still in the learning process. That's why we have such a good mentorship program for this. You're going to be working with one of the best like researchers, like, in the area, in the country, in that respective field. So you'll get that help and you'll see your project through. But the important thing is to be true to yourself and what you want, and how you want to impact your community through research. Yeah, I'll keep it there.
Cool. There's some questions in the chat again. Let's see if we can answer them and then continue. So, does the applicant need to reside in Chicago? No. Can be from wherever. So can your mentor. So if you're in whatever University of something somewhere else, and your mentor is a physician in that university, we'll contact them and we'll be in touch with them, but that person can be your mentor. Now, there's a niche question, and this I'm not entirely sure what to advise. But can a research mentor be a Latino resident doctor that I work closely with rather than my attending PI? I just work more closely with the resident and have a better relationship with him.
So that is a question probably for me. And in general, we do like you to have an attending mentor, and there are mentorship can look different in many ways, right? And so one of the main purposes of the MOLA Scholars Program is so that you can have peer mentors, meaning people who are at the same level as you, helping mentor you, and that's what those check-ins are useful for. And then the MOLA faculty is someone who's there to kind of also guide when, you know, your peer mentorship is not enough. It's someone who has a little bit more experience than you. So your true MOLA mentor is gonna have to be an attending, a faculty member. And that's important for many reasons. One, like if you don't have a faculty member, a lot of stuff like submitting an IRB is not possible. You need to be sponsored by a faculty member at your institution. So that doesn't mean that your resident mentor cannot be your mentor. That person should still be your mentor, but you will still eventually need someone at your institution who is gonna be able to open those doors of like things like IRB and maybe applying for some small grants if you need them and things like that. So, so I would say it's not that that mentor is not good. It's just you do need a faculty mentor as well.
That takes care of the chat.
Was there another question?
The other question was, can the mentor, I'm assuming it, be faculty from another institution if we're doing remote work?
So our mentorship has looked in a variety, it looks very different for different people, and we make it work. So if your primary mentor is in another institution, that is okay as well. But you also, again, might need someone from your institution if you're needing to access your institutional resources, especially as a student. So you might still need someone at your institution. And if you get selected for the Scholars Program, we will work with you and talk to you about kind of like what the responsibilities of each of your mentors will be, because if you have a mentor at your institution, let's say, who's not Latino, you're still going to have a MOLA Scholars mentor, and that MOLA mentor is going to help guide you through the deadlines for the scholarship program, but your actual research stuff will be done by your institutional mentor. So whatever it is, we kind of work on it. And so if you have any kind of mentor, it is fine to write that in your application. We want to know that that is helpful to us. And then if we need to supply you with supplemental mentorship, we will do that as well.
Alfredo has a question. Go ahead, Alfredo.
Hello, thank you for meeting with us today. One of the questions I had, and it's pretty niche as well, is that one of the reasons why I was interested in applying to your program is because I currently attend a medical school in Texas. And for those who don't know, there's a lot of legislative actions that are controlling the specific sources of data we can get things from, especially as someone that goes to a medical school at a public university in Texas. So I wanted to know, would that necessarily be an issue because I know that your organization is more so based out of like Chicago, would that be more of an issue since I am technically a student in Texas? Like, I guess in those like legal issues, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. So we don't always have like a database to offer. So that's not necessarily that would come from us. But if you already know where you want to access your data, from our standpoint, we have no restrictions on where you get your data from. Obviously, there are, you know, research guidelines that you have to follow and ethics and all that stuff that you have to do. But if you already know where your data is, and you want to do a project with that, that is more than okay with us. There's no restrictions or limitations from our end. And also, it doesn't matter to us that you're in Texas or in another state. I don't know if that's a good enough answer or if you want to clarify.
That was great. Thank you.
I also just wanted to kind of, in a way, not dissuade anyone who is like, here's the word IRB and is like, oh, no, I can't, I'm not going to be able to do this then. And we do have a lot of scholars too that are able to complete non-IRB requiring research studies. That is just as important, especially for asking questions that may not, we may not be able to get data for that yet. And so that includes like conducting a systematic literature review, using a publicly available data set. Actually, I think for that you do have to get an IRB, but getting like an educational needs assessment based on like what's publicly available. So I do not want anyone to kind of be dissuaded from, okay, you have to have an institutional mentor and you have to have this IRB in process. And I will say, when we are reviewing these applications, we are looking at the research idea that you have and you have proposed in one of your essays, and we are saying, okay, like how serious are they about it, and what is the likelihood that they're going to be able to get this question answered in some way in the time frame that we have. So if the question is extremely like specific to extremely specific population where you will need an IRB and you kind of just really threw that out without thinking about that, that's something that we may say like, oh, okay, they didn't think about it. But if, like Francisco was explaining, it's a more targeted question that you really thought about, but there is possibilities that you could get this done not having started an IRB yet, or at least getting those initial steps done, then we're able to, consider that and think of that likely. So really, like, don't just throw out a research idea, just without thinking about the steps that it would take to complete it. And don't not throw out a research idea just because you don't think you have the resources to answer it. Just show that you've like really thought about this idea. That's what I would like to leave with that.
Another question in the chat is, can we submit an idea that we have already stated, for example, that we've started a poster for, or will it be presenting a poster for? Yes. So if you're working on some research, yeah, I mean, as long as it, as some significant part that you will kind of think about can be completed in 6 months, yes. We welcome projects that are ongoing. Absolutely. So if you have a poster for the first part of your research and you want to continue doing this thing for us, the remaining research with us, that is perfect. What I think, I mean, we won't like is if you want to do that same research, right? Like the research that you did and then say you did it. That's just not fair game, right? But
And
yeah, go
and an
ahead.
example of that would be like, let's say, for example, I'm going to use diabetes because that's where I'm, that's what I do. We have a database of patients with type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, and we can look at very general things using that database. And so maybe I presented a poster on some of that data. But then, for MOLA, you would look specifically at the Latino population. So you're still using the same data, the same research, but you are asking a little bit of a different question. And I think that is going to be important. So, if you're saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and that, and then, I already have a poster. Okay, yes, you have a poster, that's great, but like, what's the change? So please let us know, like, what's the, what little thing are you going to look at differently than what you had already prepared?
But some of the criteria also that we look at is can you complete this in 6 months? So for example, if I'm tagging along and I'm not saying this is the case, but let's say for the sake of argument that you work with this data and now your next question is like, how do I cure diabetes, right? Well, not doable in 6 months. It's super simple, right? So make sure that we'd rather have a conservative estimate of your project and we can put stuff in there, or a good estimate rather than like usually like very ambitious projects will not get done in 6 months. and they also reflect sometimes that you haven't thought of a particular angle to the problem. Any other questions, comments? Chat, anyone?
I don't think it's as clear. Oh, sorry, I don't know who that was. I couldn't see who that was. Or not, that was just me echoing.
I think so.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
is how the application review works. So just so you're not, in case you haven't applied in the past and aren't sure, we will take the rest of the month, or the applications due the 23rd, and our reviewers, which are a committee who's reviewed applications in previous years, and so has a lot of experience with reviewing the different types of applications and represent different backgrounds. So we have some of our physicians, but we also have researchers, and we have previous scholars also review the applications, because they are going to be able to identify best who's going to be able to be successful in the program. So they'll review a selection of applications with staggering reviews. So no two people will have the same set of 3 reviewers. And then we have a long meeting, excuse me, in the end of January. And so we meet, we review all of the applications, we discuss all of the applications, all of the no's, all of the definitelys, and then we really spend a lot of time with the maybes as well, the ones that we are like, okay, where should they fall? Then we invite all of the finalists. There's no limit on how many finalists we'll invite to interview. And we will conduct a short interview in February. You'll be invited, you'll be given a date and a time. And if you cannot make that, then you have to tell us immediately. And then those are, when I say they're short, they're like 15 minutes. We have a set of 3 questions. So it's to your best interest to try to be as cohesive, excuse me, as possible. And then we select our final candidates from there, with always a goal of having no more than 12 scholars, and anywhere between 8 to 12. We don't have a minimum amount, but we do have about a maximum amount, which is how much our faculty scholar can support, and as well as the funds that we have.
Ariel, we can also explain some. Oh.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking. Sorry. So another thing is, we might invite applicants that didn't get the scholarship. We might invite them to do research with us. And I think that's important, because what happens is, like, let's say, for example, Monica and I are reviewing an application and we disagree. And Monica thinks is the best application she's ever seen, and I think is the worst application I've ever seen, right? And I mean, the disagreements are never like that, but let's say, for the sake of argument, that's the case. That scholar might not be at the top because of me, right? I pulled the score down, but it's a really good application nonetheless, right? So this is a system where we're humans looking at applications, and people have their preferences. But we recognize that there's a huge chunk of applicants that are really, really good, and for whatever reason, they didn't make the cut. But we want them in MOLA, because maybe with a little bit of training, next year they can be scholars. So it's very likely that we will invite some applicants, even though they don't win, to still participate in MOLA. And I would say, if you're the kind of person that wants to, improve and get it next year, you say yes to that invitation.
There is also a question on the form, and we do pay attention to who has been a reapplicant, especially ones who didn't get it in the past and then they, reapply. It will hurt you if you submit the same application. It will strongly benefit you if we see like a significant improvement. Same goes to previous scholars are also invited to reapply, as we had said previously, we'd like to support the ongoing project and the progression. So it has to be, you know, something additional that you would be doing after you've, you know, and to show that you've completed the previous work. So also will hurt you to submit the same application. Will strongly benefit you if it's a significant improvement. Mhm. And then I appreciate that Jose Alberto brought up the one-on-one sessions. I think they were brought up a couple of times. In case anyone is unaware, this is not just, we don't just give out a scholarship and maybe throw a mentor your way. This is a program. So we have set deadlines. We try to have an initial celebratory ceremony with all of our scholars, as well as our funders and mentors in the beginning for everyone to meet in person. And then we have weekly check-ins with the scholars and the faculty scholar as well. And so those weekly check-ins are for the scholars to kind of give feedback to each other. And like Monica said, or like Dr. Bianco said, excuse me, to be peer mentors to each other. And so it creates this community.
There were a couple of questions too on
yes.
there were a couple of questions on the FAQs. And one was, if I am an M3, or I forget, if I'm on like if you have to work on Saturdays and you can make the weekly check-ins, what happens? Or you have difficulty making the weekly check-ins?
So there are 12 check-ins over the summer, and you only have to make 7. So I've found that in the last couple of years that I've been doing this, most scholars are able to make 7 check-ins without a problem. But we have scholars on here, and you guys can tell us, was that a difficulty for you, or did you have a challenge with making those meetings?
So I did this, I did the MOLA Scholars program during my M3 year, clinical rotations. And part of that, of doing it in your M3 year, is that some weekends, yeah, you're in your rotation and it's a little hard to kind of step in and out. I think there's the 7 out of 12 is doable based on that kind of perspective that I had being an M3. But I will say that there is flexibility, and as long as you're communicating, even with deadlines, like as long as you are talking with your mentor, talking with Dr. Bianco or Dr. Bonilla, just keeping everybody aware, there is flexibility as well. I'll be upfront about it. But the 7 out of 12 is doable.
Cool. Thank you. And a couple of other questions. I'm going to group a few questions together. So one, is it possible to apply if you graduated this year, or you're graduating in December, or if you're taking a gap year or deferral year from grad school?
So you do have to be enrolled in a program. So let's say you, I don't know, graduated a master's program and are starting medical school, you can apply. If you are finishing medical school but are doing some sort of, master's in something like master's in clinical investigation, or you're going to do like a 1-year NIH research year, you can apply. So you have to say, like, either if you're graduating this year, then what the next step is going to be. And if it's a educational program, then the answer is yes, you can still apply. If your gap year is you're not going to be enrolled in any institution, then unfortunately the answer is no. And the reason is that again, we do not have resources for you, like in terms of like institutional resources. And so the mentor can help you through a project, but if you can't go on PubMed because you don't have an institution again, or if you don't, or you can't go through the IRB. If you're doing an IRB, then you won't be able to do any of the research projects because you just don't have the resources without being at a program.
One other question that's raised was that if a recommender is hesitant to give the letter of recommendation to you specifically to submit, can they send it via email directly to MOLA? Yes. Right? Programs at MOLA at chicagomola.com. So yes, so the email, if you're in this chat is because you received an email. That email address, the from, that's where they would send the letter of recommendation.
And you want to make sure that they indicate your name, that it's correct, the same name that you're applying with and things like that. So it's easy to be matched up. And while we're on the topic of recommendation letters, they really have to be in letterhead. Every year we get 1 or 2 letters that are not on letterhead. And that is a very sad reason to get your application thrown out. It is clearly stated that it has to be on letterhead. So whatever institution the mentor is in, they should put it in their institutional letterhead.
Yep.
And another just tip, because we do see it and it really, you hate to throw out an application because of someone else. But make sure that your recommender knows what you're applying to. And if they've written you letters for medical school or letters for programs, that they are, and they're going to specify the program, that it's the right program. So we get a lot of like recycled letters from medical schools, or they were written a year ago. And I mean, we just will not review the application if that happens. So make sure that your recommender is someone that you can rely on. And if you feel like they could use a friendly reminder, do it, because you put in a lot of effort to complete this application. And all they have to do is just be a little bit more careful.
And Jasmine just put in the chat what needs to go on that email for the letter of recommendation. So take a look at that.
I have a question regarding the letter recommendation. I kind of have in mind a mentor, a faculty mentor from my institution that could, be my PI in terms of helping me do the IRB approval and all that stuff. But she is not Latina. So in the case that I do become a scholar, my understanding is that I would be paired up with a Latino or Latina doctor. And just my question is, should I have her write me a letter of recommendation, or, because technically she won't be my primary mentor, but she's going to be the one kind of like supporting me in the process.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, if this is someone you're going to be working with, she will be your primary mentor. But you will also, in addition, get a MOLA mentor who is going to be there to kind of help guide you as you're going through the deadlines of the different requirements for the MOLA scholarship. They, if you have a mentor at your institution, they do not have to be Latino or Latina. If they are not, you will be assigned a mentor through MOLA, just so they can they're going to be more of a secondary mentor than a primary mentor for you, if you already have someone at your institution. And most definitely anyone can write you a recommendation letter. They do not have to be Latinos or Hispanic or whatever term you get. Anyone can do it. Anyone who knows you well, who's going to give you a good recommendation letter and is going to be able to, describe what a great applicant you are. So,
right.
And just a follow-up question.
Yeah, sorry. So make sure though that your research addresses Latino issues somehow. Yeah,
for sure. And are we capped at 2 letters of recommendation, or can we do 3?
I think we'll only review 2.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
first 2. I don't
Sounds
really
good.
know. Maybe someone will review the 3rd, but I would try to just stick to 2, please.
I'd stick
For
to
sure.
2, yeah. And like Dr. Bianco said, someone who knows you well. It doesn't even have to be a physician. So if you have a professor in undergrad that did research with you in whatever, geology, right, that you participated and can speak to your research abilities or how good a person you are, or how committed you are to what you do, that's all fine. Cannot be your mom, your uncle, or your neighbor, though. I have read letters of recommendation from a neighbor.
Thank you.
We have 5 minutes left. The only other question I saw was that should I have a research project already lined up with IRB approval, which we've already pretty much answered, is that you do not have to have one. It helps certainly. And if you have it, definitely mention it.
I would also say there were a couple of questions for people who have graduated or want to get a similar mentorship than this, or advice about jobs. I would really encourage those people, if they're in this call, to contact MOLA, because we have international medical program committee, and we have mentorship besides this scholarship. So please get in touch with MOLA if that's how you roll.
Any other last minute questions? If not, then I wish all of you the best of luck in completing the application. And I know it's most of you are in finals this week, so also good luck with that. And I hope you have a wonderful time off. If you get time off, I hope that you do. And if you
Thank
don't,
you,
take
guys.
sick.
Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Ariel.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.